Welcome to another session of Technology by Performix. I'm Ken Umansky, your host, and today we'll explore more of the world of technology. My guest today is Luká Yancopoulos, founder and CEO of Grapevine, a startup company using cutting-edge technology that enables clients to save up to 50% on their medical supply costs, reduce order times by 90%, and seamlessly work with multiple vendors, thereby revolutionizing the procurement and delivery processes in healthcare. Luká started multiple successful companies. He has a BA in engineering and a BSc in bioengineering, as well as a biomedical engineering degree from the University of Pennsylvania. Welcome, Luká. I'm happy you could join me today. I'm sure you've been really busy getting your company off the ground. Let me start with an easy question. Without revealing any proprietary details, could you walk us through how Grapevine's technology operates? Also, specifically, how does it integrate with existing healthcare systems, and what unique functions does it perform to improve supply chain efficiency?
For sure. So thanks for having me, Ken. I'm super excited to be here. And to dive into your question, I want to start with sort of the goal. Right. We consider Grapevine a solution not just for medical practices and healthcare businesses, but also for everyone. At some point, we all become a patient. And at some point, we all will look at a medical bill and say, that bill is way too high. And there's, I think, a responsibility and an obligation for people to work towards making healthcare more affordable, not just for medical practices to operate, but also in turn to cut the costs for healthcare patients, for everyone. Now, I guess how the medical practices are really the ones using our platform, and how they interact with our platform. It's a simple, sort of easy and free sign up. It takes a couple of minutes. They log in, and there's the big button that says link suppliers. And the idea is, it's not an Amazon or an e-commerce shop that you go to right away. Instead, it's empty. And it's going to be populated with your trusted suppliers, your contracted prices in the medical space, your GPOs, and everything related all flow together. So you link your suppliers, inflow your products and your contracted prices, and now you're able to shop, 10 different suppliers' catalogs all in a single screen. And what we've found out, what we've discovered, is that a lot of these major distributors, the McKessons, the Medlines, Henry Scheins of the world, Cardinal Health, they're reselling other people's products. Most of what they're offering is other people's products. So by bringing all those suppliers into one screen, you end up seeing the same products over and over again. And every one of those suppliers is a little bit more efficient and a little bit more optimized on different product categories. So we bring those products together, and as a shopper shops for their usual things from their usual suppliers, we'll say, hey, one of your other suppliers offers this at a cheaper price. It pops up in their face as they're adding a cart, as they're checking out. And it gives a sort of kayak or an Expedia-like experience to shopping medical supplies, directing you to the smartest source to cut down on your spend without changing anything in the clinical setting, without changing your products, medical devices, or pharmaceuticals or drugs.
Well, that's great. So you're really disrupting the category.
Yeah, and we try to disrupt while also honoring the important parts of the supply chain that people have worked hard to sort of cultivate and bring into their medical practice. So we let you keep working with your existing suppliers. We let you benefit from the work that you've had to date and the existing relationships you have with sales personnel at the big distribution companies. But we also try to take it a step further, right? Not just optimizing, the products from suppliers that you already purchased from, but also introducing you directly to the manufacturer, cutting out a middleman and his markup where there's an opportunity. So let's say you link 5 suppliers into Grapevine. We're still able to expose you to a world of hundreds of other suppliers if you choose to sort of opt in and single click unlock, new suppliers that might save you more money.
So what technology are you using behind the scenes to make this all happen?
Yeah, it's technology that my degrees didn't teach me about. They're using basically EDI technology, which is like some 1990s technology. And I was born in 1998, and it's definitely not what they're teaching at UPenn these days. So we had to sort of go back in the history books, see what a lot of these major distribution companies had built their technology on, and how they share information between, you know, the distributor's system and e-commerce platform with an e-procurement system like ours. And we built sort of integration endpoints with each of those different distributors. So when the customer goes in and links their suppliers, we're establishing it's called an EDI connection with each of their suppliers to read in that customer specific data. There's also other technology APIs, and we co-locate and use AI to co-locate information from all over the web to bolster the product offerings. A lot of these, you know, suppliers aren't taking 17 beautiful videos and pictures of the products that they're selling, like you might see on Amazon, but we try to give them that experience by bringing together all of the information to one screen in one place.
So you are using AI to do that. Will you be increasing your use of AI as you grow?
Absolutely. Yeah, we hope to gather enough data. So we use AI in a couple ways. One is to, you know, generate content for products that have like weak content provided or weak sort of product details provided from the integrated suppliers. We also use AI to basically guide people towards the best priced product. Specifically, there are a lot of different things that affect a customer's price, and every customer gets a unique price from the supplier, right? So we use AI to try to predict sort of shortages, predict price changes, you know, and tell people when the right time to buy products is. Now that's what we're doing today, but we want to increasingly sort of depend on AI and prediction to categorize customers who are similar, categorize customer who gets similar prices, you know, from their connected distributors, and track a single sort of change for one customer from one of these distributors and broadcast it to the other customers using AI to calculate how their price or availability might change. But increasingly, absolutely, Kenneth.
That's great. How does your technology and use of data, how does that optimize inventory management for healthcare facilities?
So I think that, you know, when a normal person who doesn't sort of shop for a business or a medical practice thinks about shopping, we think about it as this sort of fun, exploring and purchasing like a novel thing, right, experience. Like I think a lot of people in this world like to shop. For a medical practice, it's a little bit different of an equation. They're seeing shopping as a tangent to their primary sort of workload and focus, delivering the highest quality patient care to patients. And this obligation that they have to do, reordering the same products, right, as new patient appointments get booked, as things get depleted from supply cabinets. They're constantly trying to figure out when they need to order the product that they previously ordered 100 times and how much they need to order so that it doesn't sit on a shelf and ultimately expire. And that's a challenge for people, knowing when to order and how much to order when you're consistently reordering the same thing week after week, month after month, and it can be burdensome. So our goal is to build a system in the long term that there is no screen, there is no sort of easy one-click shopping. In fact, people don't need to log in to our platform or go on to a computer at all to reorder their supplies. Instead, they open their supply cabinet, and right as it's depleting, a new order is sent to their facility and their supply cabinet is restocked. We hope to be an app that makes itself irrelevant in that people, you know, our users will one day not use our app, but instead they'll be confident that they're getting the best price, that their shelves will always be stocked with the supplies they need, and their patients never get, you know, there's never a sacrifice to patient care due to a shortage or expiring overstock. So it's an interconnected picture.
So give me some examples of how Grapevine has used your technology to help companies save money.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say a customer or a medical practice that uses one major distributor because it's convenient. They shop on that distributor's website. We can call them McKesson. And they're spending $450,000 a month because McKesson has sort of constant prices and they have given a monopoly of their spend to McKesson. All we do is we create a free competitive market, right, for different suppliers that you know that you believe in to compete for your spend. So what once was a sort of pie chart of spend that's $450,000 and all McKesson, all of it going towards McKesson, can now be redistributed to smarter sources saving 50%, on a product here and there, saving 80% on a product here and there. And what was once a sort of single supplier spend is now divided into a bunch of different slices. You're spending 25% of your spend across 2 different suppliers and 10% across another 5, redistributing your spend to the smartest store and saving money in the process. It's the same idea as if you or me walked into CVS to buy toilet paper and 100 other things on a shopping list, right? We'd pay the price that we see on the shelf. But if you could take the toilet paper shelf from CVS, Duane Reade, Costco, Walmart, and you put them all side by side, and when I picked one up, a big light went off that said, wait a minute, that same product you picked up is cheaper on another shelf over here from Costco, right? And you went over and you bought that one, you'd save money. So being able to see into every store that you can shop at once and then put the right option, the most cost-effective option in front of you the second you pick up the product you want. That's exactly what we're doing, is redirecting spend right before the person goes to check out and place their order. That's a huge part of it. And another part of it is going to be decreasing sort of excessive inventory and shortage events. And we do that by measuring your inventory. And right as your inventory is depleting, right, an order will automatically go out to the supplier. So you don't need to go onto a screen and place an order. If you forget to place an order for some supplies, the cabinet knows, the system knows, the supplier knows, and suddenly your cabinet is refilled.
So how is the suppliers, how have they reacted to this?
I mean, for the most part, it's creating more competition between suppliers. Suppliers that are offering competitive prices are earning more market share. And it's a good thing. It's a fair thing. We've definitely made some enemies in I'd call them legacy suppliers that, are a few hundred years old as a company. They have earned, or they have about $300 billion of sales revenue a year, and there's only a couple of them. And they've got nothing to gain by opening up these markets and letting people compete, and everything to lose because they've inherited for the last 50 years all of these customers. So we butt heads with them a little bit, but we're not the ones making the decision on where to spend the dollar. Ultimately, that's the customer's decision. We're just enabling them to see the options that they already have available.
So I assume that the customers are really happy about it.
The customers are very happy about it.
I bet. So
we got about 150 medical practices using Grapevine, and each of those practices has referred on average about 2 other medical practices. So there's another 300 medical practices that are on a wait list to join Grapevine.
Wow. You talked about improving patient care. How does what you're doing really do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one is avoiding sort of shortages, right? As a patient who's having a major surgical operation, that operation, the show cannot go on without having the right equipment, to keep you alive while your chest is getting cut open. And oftentimes a shortage from a manufacturer leads to a missing implantable device that's going to be implanted in a surgery. And patient appointments need to either get pushed back or rescheduled, right? Surgeries need to be rescheduled because of a shortage of supply, or the patient care that's being provided is done, with the workaround to compensate for a missing piece of supply, or a missing implantable device, a missing pacemaker or knee replacement. All of these things can go, and sometimes they can affect a patient's ability to access, a life-saving treatment. They may need it this week, and if the supplies aren't there, it creates real problems for patients. So making sure that the show goes on by keeping everything in stock at all times is a huge part of how we try to help patients. The other part is by cutting costs of a medical practice, right? Every single mask, syringe, glove, lab coat that's used in a patient appointment is a cost that's carried by the medical practice. They're a business, and they need to pass forward those costs to their patients. One way or another, they need to cover their expenses as a business and charge their customers, patients, more than they are actually spending on patient care. What we do is we're cutting the spend on supplies by more than 50%. In our best case is 62%, which has been more than $1 million for some individual businesses, medical practices. When you save that much money as a business, you got 2 options, right? You can either stuff the extra money in your pockets, or you can pass forward cost savings to your customers, right? Give them a more competitive offering. And most of the time, medical practices do exactly that. They have a static amount of, for each patient, they're not going to make twice as much if it costs half as much to treat the patient. They're going to cut the patient's bill in half. And we've seen that time and time again.
We're running out of time, but let me ask you this question. What issues have you faced as you put together the technology for Grapevine?
When you're trying to disrupt an industry that feels outdated, you sometimes need to, like I mentioned earlier, go back through the history books and learn new things that aren't sort of commonplace or aren't, being taught. And that's a hard part of what we've done, is acquiring new knowledge that's sort of brought into this space due to outdated technology. I think another part of it is knowing what people want to keep and meeting the customer where they're at. I mean, it's a cheesy concept that I think a lot of entrepreneurs say, but when we first launched Grapevine, it wasn't what I'm currently describing to you. It was something way more advanced and way more futuristic feeling. But the level of change that we were asking customers to make from their current practices was beyond what they were comfortable with. They had some habits that they appreciated, that they wanted to uphold. So understanding what the customer, likes about what they do today, the great things that they've done today, what things they want to hold on to versus what they want to let go. I mean, I think that's a really important part of making a solution that customers actually can use and will use.
You did mention AI and maybe even blockchain. What role do you think they're going to play in future healthcare supply chains, or just in healthcare overall?
I think there's a lot of ways that, from improved sort of diagnosis, right, to even sort of curating customer decided, or patient decided treatment plans. I think there's a lot that AI can do in this space. There's a huge amount of data that is locked away in siloed electronic health record systems, in siloed, clinical trial sort of data reports, inside of, supply chain pricing, siloed customer pricing accounts and catalogs, bringing that information to a single place where AI systems can be built around them. Models can, be trained based on the information that's currently disparate and unavailable. I think that's a huge part of advancing healthcare, not just in supply chains, but beyond, for patient care, for diagnosis, for treatment. All of the above, I think, are going to rely on sort of big data management and big data processing. I think that for the time being, one of the greater challenges is getting access to that data so we can process it in an intelligent way.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Time really flies fast when you're talking about things you really are interested in, doesn't it? Well, let me thank you for a stimulating discussion. It was really terrific. And I think the audience that listens to this podcast learned a lot about digital technology and how it can improve both procurement and delivery of healthcare, but importantly, how it can improve patient outcomes. And I think that's really the bottom line. Everybody is trying to improve their patient outcomes, and a lot of things get in the way. You're trying to remove some of those barriers. That's terrific. How can our listeners contact you if you have questions?
Yeah, I'd say the best way is going to go-grapevine.com. That's go-grapevine.com. And you can sign up for Grapevine for free. And if you're looking for the services we provide, we'll reach out to you shortly thereafter. If you want to contact me directly, you can send me an email. It's Luká, Luka, at the same website, go-grapevine.com.
Thanks again. And don't miss the next episode of TechKNOWlogy, when we'll discuss how technology is changing some other business sectors. Remember, you can always find TechKNOWlogy podcasts on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you need help with any size technology challenge, please contact Performance Business Services at performancebiz.com. They're our sponsor. I'm your host, Ken Umansky, and until we meet again on another TechKNOWlogy podcast, keep on innovating.